I'm going to show you how to replace an air compressor on a 378-91 PeterBilt with a 3406B motor. I'm not a mechanic, just a do-it-yourselfer. When you work on these kind of trucks, you gotta try to save money when you're trying to run them. So this is how I do it. Hope it helps somebody. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic. So for all you professionals, try to make your comments a little easy on me, would you? Alright. Anyway, I already started. You gotta take this hose off, which is the coolant line. This one off, which is the coolant line. Feeds radiator fluid through it to cool the head. You got this line up here, which is an oil intake. You got this one down here, which is an oil return. Then you got these two that go to the governor that sits right here. I'll show you on the new one, that are the air lines. And then you got this one right here, which is your air intake from the air block. It brings in the fresh air for the compressor to make air for your truck system. Anyway, then you gotta take out this bolt here, this one back here that I'm working on right now, and then you got a third one. I don't know if you can see in there, down in there. It's a gear driven air pump. So I'm gonna get that bolt out, the bottom one. Then you gotta match all your fittings on the new one for the angles. You gotta make sure you put your plugs in. There's a plug here for the spot we don't need on the coolant, and then there's two in the back. I don't know if you can really see them. There's one there and one there. Anyway, you gotta put all those back on your new air compressor. So as soon as I get that off the truck, I'll give you an update on putting the fittings on the new pump, and then I'll update you with putting the new pump in the truck. And I'll show you about the gear that's in here on the spline. Like I say, it's a gear driven air compressor. Alright, we'll be back. Alright, got the air compressor out. Let's see. I don't know if you can see the gears in there, but anyway, you want to clean off all the old sealant. Okay? And remember, it's got oil and radiator fluid in it. So be prepared. I forgot to put shit down, because it comes spilling out pretty quick. Make a freaking mess. Anyway, that's the gear I was telling you about. We're gonna take that gear off and put it on the new one, and then put all these fittings on it. These are those back plugs I was telling you about. So anyway, we'll get this mess cleaned up, get off the shop floor, and we'll get it to where we can start changing out the fittings from the old one to the new one, get the right angles. And then before I put it in, I'll get a flashlight or something, and I'll show you in there a little better where it's gear driven. And like I said, make sure you clean off all this old silicone fucking, whatever it is for your gasket. This one has silicone in there. The new one come with a pre-made fucking gasket. So sorry about the camera work. Anyway, I'll get back to you guys. Alright, now I got all the fittings on the new pump. When you do it, make sure you get them lined up the way they were on the old one. Take a moment and make sure that you're lined up. And we take the fittings off. We take them out of the old one. Just give it a little wire brush on the threads. That'll help you out in the long run. And then make sure you put some dope on there. You want that to seal up. So now that I got those in, off the old one, governor's on. Now we gotta take the gear off. So on this one, these are a 1/2 inch. So we'll take that off, put on the new one. You got a little key right here that'll help you line it up. And when you do it, just take a measurement from the front plate to the end plate on this. Just take that measurement. That way when you put it on this one, just in case it wants to keep going a little further back on that key, you can line it up from the front of this plate to the front of the gear on the new one and make sure you have your mesh correct. You know, just it's a little something I do. I don't know if you need to do it or whatever, but it's just something that's not going to hurt you to do it. It takes 2 seconds to take a measurement. And that way you make sure your gear mesh is going to be dead nuts when you go put the pump in. So I'm going to take that off, put it on there. I'll show you what the gears look like in the drive, and then we'll put the pump on. Alright. So when you go take that off, you'll take those nuts out. Take this plate off. And there's a nut in there. You're going to have to take that nut off and get this not to spin on you. So it's like, hey, the pressure's wore out. So you shouldn't be able to spin it that easy by hand. Bloop, bloop. So anyway, get that nut off, transfer it over. You're getting close to being back in business. Alright, got the gear off on the new one. It's a pain in the ass, tell you that, to get that set nut out of there. Had to get a gear puller, which probably should have known I'd had to do anyway, but I was trying to Portuguese it. So anyway, it's ready to go in. There's the core. Quarter charges more than the freaking pump. So that one's stripped. That one's ready to go. We'll get that Bendix air compressor in the truck, and I'll show you where this goes into the gear set before I do that. And put all the hoses back on, start her up, see if she builds air compared to what she used to. Alright, so that's what it's looking like in there. That's the gears that drive your AC pump, or your air compressor, to build air in your truck, keep air. So you have to get onto that spline there, and then your gear that you changed out will go onto that one right there. That's why it's important to take that measurement. I mean, with that little lock key, it should only seat so far, but that's why you need to make sure your mesh is good, because you got to get onto that one and you have your mesh for that bottom gear there to turn that pump. So we'll get the gasket in, we'll drop the air compressor in there, bolt it up, hook up all the hoses, and we'll be on our way. Look at that nice frame. Just painted that sucker. Alright, back in, bolted up. Got all the hoses on. Everything's tight. One way to find out if it works, fire this bitch up. She's already building there. A lot faster than that other one. That other one wouldn't build any air. Building. The other air compressor wouldn't even be at that yet. And that's how you install an air compressor.